everybody, and welcome to the 45th episode of Growing Up Geek, the weekly podcast for geek entertainment and nostalgia. My name is Brad, and I'm joined by my soulless corporate salesman of a brother, Rob.
Did you find everything you were looking for this evening? That's good. Will you be paying with credit or debit? Okay.
Spoken like a true professional. There you go.
I am no longer unemployed.
Right.
And I've joined the working world in retail for now.
Yeah.
But at a geek's dream, kind of a throwback to how, CompUSA used to be in the 90s.
I was going to say, we won't mention the store's name specifically, but we will say it is a retail electronics brand.
It is a retail electronics stuff. We sell IT and all kinds of stuff. But yeah, I got a job.
So have you had to do anything particularly soulless yet?
Well, we base a lot on just gathering like information. So it's like email and addresses to send out flyers and stuff like that.
So you're the guy that has to ask that now.
Yeah, but, as long as you're pleasant about it, people don't have much of a problem with it. And we don't have to be like, do you want a strategy guide? Would you like to pre-order anything? Like, we're not asking people to, sign up for something they don't need.
That's good.
So, yeah.
So now let's turn to the world of geek news. Yeah. Every week we like to share our favorite news stories. And we will start with the fact that our predictions, or I should say your predictions, were correct.
I am correct.
You are correct.
Me.
At least on this thing you are.
All right.
LucasArts had their big event that we had talked about last week, their teaser for their new massively multiplayer online game set in the Knights of the Old Republic universe.
Yes.
Which is exactly what you thought it would be.
Right.
And the name of this thing is Star Wars The Old Republic.
Which I think is a good choice because it's not specifically the Knights, it's also everybody else going on in there. But
this is set about 3,000 years before Darth Vader. And we're not going to really dwell too long on this because we did a whole bunch last week, but we dealt with our hopes and fears. Let me just ask you real quick, do you think this has a chance to stomp World of Warcraft?
No.
Okay.
This will grab up the people who haven't played WoW. This is going to be like the sci-fi geeks and things like that. And maybe it will stomp WoW because maybe that's a larger demographic.
Yeah, I will say that the teaser had all kind of Jedi running all over the place. So clearly, your fears about not being able to be a Jedi, they definitely seem to be going for that angle. There's a Sith versus Republic factions, and overall, it sounds like they're really trying to learn a lot from WoW. And God, at this point, it just seems insurmountable. But if anybody can build a story, and it seems like the story is going to really be the main thing. Hopefully BioWare will be able to do that.
Yeah.
But that was our predictions from last week.
Yep.
So let's dive right in. Your favorite news story from this week?
Yeah, well, this just came to my email, and I'm sure most people have heard by now that the new MacBook has been announced, the MacBook and MacBook Pro. And, it's got a lot of neat features. It's made out of a solid piece of aluminum. It's thinner, faster, all that kind of stuff. It's gone for the new beige color. Okay, paging Jeff Goldblum.
Wait a minute. Yeah, Jeff Goldblum's ghost just tapped me on the shoulder when you said that, and he's not even dead.
Yeah.
I remember the commercial. What are they in Thinking Jail?
Yeah, what's your favorite color? Who out there said beige? None of you, because it's not even a color. It's dinosaurs and running around. And
nature selected them. Yeah, so what happened to that, Apple? I don't know.
Well, I guess if they get enough people away from it, all of a sudden they're standing out if they're doing that. You know what, though? I think it fits. The color schemes have to change eventually.
Well, okay, now let's just be honest, though. Yeah. What really happened was the color thing was a fad.
Yeah.
I mean, it's safe to say at this point that which seemed like such an outside-the-box move at the time, was a fad.
Yes.
And you get sick of a color after you stare at it for a long enough time, and you want to go back to your white computer, which is why they probably were neutral to begin with. So it looks like the beige community has been vindicated in 2008. I don't know. And
mark your calendars,
yeah. Some message board somewhere just lit up. One post added. Hooray! Anyway,
so
go ahead.
I actually got to use this thing because we just got it in sale at Bleep Bleep Bleep, where I work.
Exactly.
And my favorite feature about it, or at least the most interesting feature to me, is the mouse pad, which is made out of glass, though it's not really noticeable. There's no buttons. In a decidedly very Apple move. They've done away with even having one button, and they've gone to no buttons at all. It's just a square. You rub your finger on it. But, of course, the thing is that the pad itself pushes in and
it's like a multi-touch thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the previous pad was multi-touch too. You could pinch and squeeze and rotate. And,
Oh, okay. But I heard that there's like a right-click menu.
yeah, well,
kind of?
since the whole pad is a button, you can then say, well, if I click to the left side, that is the left click. You can even have a forward click and a backward click and assign
So
those.
finally getting around to having a 2-button mouse in the form of a single touchpad.
Well, yeah, I mean, it seems very similar to their solution with the Mighty Mouse way back, which was that,
Right.
yeah, it has a right click, but it's just not noticeable because it's a touchpad, it's touch sensitive.
Yeah. You just recently bit off a pretty big chunk of money for the MacBook that you have. Do you feel gypped? Do you feel that sort of Apple guilt of, I should have waited till the next one?
Slightly. I'm actually looking at my thing. I'm like, I wonder if I can trade this in towards it.
Yeah.
But I'm not too disappointed with it so far. I'm just enjoying what I have.
There you go. So that's the new MacBooks.
Yeah. How about you, Brad? What's your favorite news this week?
Well, I'm going to bring you something from the world of science. There was some research this past week into stem cells from a new source, and this may actually avoid the sort of moral dilemmas of embryonic stem cells. The downside is that it is from adult human testicles. And I don't know about you, but anytime that I read the word harvested and testicles within the same sentence, it gets a little scary.
I think I need to stand up and walk around the room for a while. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
You keep telling the
Excuse
story.
me.
I'll be right back.
So basically what this means is that, when you have embryonic stem cells, because they're coming from another individual, they can cause immune problems. Your body might try to reject that. But if it's your own testicles, there's not as much of a problem with that. So apparently they're finding some good benefits. I guess the scientific eye,
the eye of Sauron,
the eye of science has gazed southward.
Okay.
So scary quote number one. Study co-author Tom Scatula. What we have successfully done right now is identify a mother lode. There you go. And scary quote number two is Professor Colin McGuckin. He says, I can see more problems getting humans to agree, as it would be a very painful procedure to have them extracted.
I need an ice pack.
And some icy hot.
Yeah, thank you for that. And
Yeah.
let's move on.
Yeah, this is where the hairs start to stand up on the back of the neck. But all right,
hair
we'll
stood
try
up
to.
a long time ago.
I thought that was cool and interesting to see progress being made on that front.
Yeah, glad to see there's no moral dilemmas.
Yeah, unless they're your own, of whether or not to be harvested. Yes.
Yes.
Who knew? Checkbox, harvest, yes or no. So anyway, that was my favorite Geek News story, and also the Bioshock 2 teaser looks really cool. We have to say that real quick.
Oh, yeah.
You just watched it. They just so delicately dealt with this.
It's just enough to say that there is one. I mean, we saw the art a while back, but this was cool. I mean, you have this girl standing on a beach, and she has sort of a...
Right, it's an adult version of one of the little sisters.
Yeah,
you
you assume that, yeah, because she has with her a little doll that's in the shape of a Big Daddy.
Yeah.
Suddenly, the sand on the beach starts to form into like these sand castles, which actually turn out to be Rapture, or a city that looks like Rapture.
And this great 50s or 40s music is playing so subtly in the background. Again, it's almost as if the idea of Bioshock 2 is just so fragile that they don't want to like blow it.
Right.
I love what I saw there. If that was all that Bioshock 2 ever was, I think I would be fine. But my thinking here is that they want to return to Rapture, and that they're psychically bringing these versions of the building up out of the sand they're miniature, as a way of saying it's a place I want to return to. So man, I'm excited to see where that goes. The trailer says North Atlantic at the beginning. Do you think this will take place in America, or do you think it'll take place back in Rapture?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I don't know if Rapture is going to rise from the sea or something like that, but who knows? It had a subtitle to it.
Sea of Dreams.
Sea of Dreams.
Yeah, and that again is perfect.
That could mean a lot of things.
Exactly. It seems like with the slight little butterfly you see there fly out of the barnacle at the end, that it might be kind of a more beautiful take on the whole ruined city thing. So I don't know, but
Yeah.
Here's hoping.
Yeah, I mean, it's still one of my favorite games. It was our game of the year, I think, last year.
Yeah.
And I totally look forward to that.
And speaking of video games, we're going to turn now to our main topic of discussion.
Yes. This week we're going to be talking about Dead Space, or Dead Space.
That's correct.
You've had a chance to play it, and there's a lot of questions for me revolving around this game because it's a science fiction horror game.
It is.
And I loved Resident Evil 4. I loved that whole series. Even The Thing on Xbox.
Oh, yeah.
It was fun. So this game actually, it reminded me of The Thing when looking at it. It's by EA, which probably explains why it's so hyped.
Yeah. Oh, there's been so much internet advertising for this game.
Yeah, there's even a... There's a movie, like a DVD prequel, which is like animated by the people who did like Aeon Flux.
Right. It's risen to Chronicles of Riddick level.
Exactly.
Of, tie-ins. The guy that did 30 Days of Night, very, very good horror illustrator. He's done the prequel comic book. So
you can see a lot of hype revolving around this product. My question to you, Brad, is this worth the hype? Does it live up to this?
I would say no, because a few things do.
Aw. All right. Aw, man.
So it's like geeks get so excited about something. They love to build something up, then they love to just tear it down. But I would say that it is very good.
Okay.
So far, I am enjoying it. I would recommend that people play this game. So if that's all you needed, go ahead and be at peace. Play Dead Space.
Right.
But if you want some more detail, I'll tell you the basic setup. You play a miner, and that is a...
So you're under the age of 12.
I've heard that joke before, but yeah. No, you play as Isaac Clarke, who is a space miner.
All right.
And there's a ship called the USG Ishimura, which is a quote planet cracker that is used for mining ore, and it sends a distress call. And you and 4 of your crewmates try to rendezvous with the Ishimura, and at the same time, Isaac, your character, is repeatedly watching a video that was sent to him by his girlfriend, Nicole, who is currently on board the Ishimura. So that is the premise when you start Dead Space. And I would say that the best part about this game is the ship. It's extremely detailed. You know, kind of like Grand Theft Auto had no sort of stock buildings or anything. It all felt very real.
Yeah.
This ship just comes alive. It is a horror game. There are monsters. But that's sort of kind of cliche compared to how nicely designed the Ishimura is. I would say that the ship is as well designed and lived in as Bioshock's Underwater City.
Wow.
You know, when I see a game like this, I just wonder how the 6-year-old me would have freaked out to see something that's this nice looking. I never thought that they would make games that look this good. This game really looks amazing. On the plus side, I also really like the hand map that you have, which is a feature where you press the right stick in, and at any point, Isaac puts his hand out, and a beam of light shows him where to go next. So you're never lost in Dead Space.
Nice.
Which is really cool. There's even parts where you'll reach a vacuum. You'll come into a room, all the air will get sucked out, and you'll actually see, the moon that you're orbiting because the wall is gone,
Yeah.
and you have a limited time of oxygen. And if it wasn't for that limited oxygen, I would stand in that room just gawking. I mean, there were some breathtaking images in this game that just made me want to stop and stare. Unfortunately, you can't do that because it is a horror game and there are creepy crawlies.
So, yeah, that was what my next question was, like, how's the pacing in this game? Because, pacing seems to be everything when it comes to survival horror. It's what separates it from being an action game.
Right.
You have a game like Serious Sam, just monsters are rushing at you. Mm-hmm. You just shoot through them. You don't have time to really be scared. But is this, like, more along the lines of Resident Evil where you'll, like, hear something eating and then you'll find it and... Just encounters are a little more heavy.
Yeah, it's much more like a Resident Evil style. You'll go through large chunks where you'll find nothing. You'll see kind of remnants, and then a monster will lurch out at you. I have to say that the game is not that scary to me. Okay. I've heard a lot of people say that it's really frightening, and of course that's the hook. But most of the scares are pretty cliche. They're jump outs or busting through windows and things like that. There are techniques that you have for disabling your enemies, which in this game is the ability to dismember.
Yeah, don't they call it like strategic dismemberment or something like that?
Yeah, it's one of the sort of original ideas they have that they're really touting. I don't think it's really worth writing home about. Like I said, it's a gimmick. But it is there, and it's fine. It certainly doesn't detract from the game, but it doesn't make it, the next amazing game or anything like that.
Okay. So you wouldn't say that this game is up for Game of the Year or anything like that?
No, in fact, I've been surprised at how into it a lot of people are. I mean, it was definitely one of those games that was on a lot of best of E3 lists and things like that. So I know that a lot of people have very high hopes for it.
Yeah.
The big downside for me, and I think this comes from just being such a geek, I'm about 5.5 hours in, and I have encountered borrows from Alien, Sunshine, Half-Life, Bioshock, Gears of War, and Resident Evil.
Really?
I mean, what do you say? Is that really a downside? I don't know.
Yeah.
But, you'll pick up audio logs as you go through. Mm-hmm. You'll run into a guy named Dallas. Mm-hmm. There's a gravity gun that picks things up.
Okay.
There's a tram system that connects you between areas. There's a doctor who's a little too excited about the freaky mutations. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you remember Resident Evil and how carefully you have to manage resources in that game, this is very similar. There were times when I ended up being low on health or low on a particular item, and I needed to carefully backtrack and find some more before proceeding. So you're going to have to watch your inventory in this game.
All right.
And I found that to make it a little too difficult at times, but overall, the ship is so memorable that I'm just looking forward to exploring more of it.
All right, cool. Thanks for that information.
Yep, no problem.
And I guess it's time for us to move along.
Yep. I will say that before we wrap up our show, we always like to get a little nostalgic and reminisce about growing up geek. So this week I want to talk about Fantastic Sam's.
Wow.
I doubt that many of our listeners have ever been here, but there was hair, and it did need cut when we were kids.
Yeah.
What set this place apart, I guess, was all of the haircutting ladies had stripper names. I mean, I don't quite know how to put it, but you would have like Sunshine and Daisy and Daffodil.
I think that was just, Western Pennsylvania.
And people write in if that's not the case, but they had like their name displayed above the mirror that you're going to get your haircut in.
Yeah.
And so you would get your haircut, and do you remember like the sort of gift that you would get at the end?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. They didn't just cut hair at Fantastic Sam's. They transported it off into a magical world where it was then exchanged for gifts that you received.
Right.
And it was kind of a cheap gimmick, but yeah, you would take a lock of your own hair from the floor after you had your hair cut. You'd put it in the machine, and then they'd close a door, right? And then they'd have you spin around 3 times saying I love Fantastic
Sam's. And this got worse as you got older. Definitely.
What you were remembering was the obvious trick to it, which is that they would reach into a box on the top of the thing and grab a toy there and drop it down into the box and swap it out for the hair.
Right.
And then you would open it up. You'd be like, oh my goodness, my hair has been transformed into
a dum-dum, a lollipop, whatever it was.
A Chinese finger trap.
Yeah. I mean, this sort of raises other hair memories, but do you remember sort of cutting your own hair?
Yeah, I do.
When you were a kid?
I guess I was watching TV. I forget what show it was.
Yeah, Mom said you were watching cartoons.
Yeah.
And this is on the eve of school pictures.
Yeah, I got some scissors, and I was just looking at them. I decided to cut my hair with it, so I started cutting. And
in a diagonal line.
Well, yeah, just, sort of not even paying attention because I'm watching TV while cutting my hair.
And we still have the picture to this day where you are wearing a sailor hat.
Yeah, see, for my school photos, I was given a sailor hat.
How poor were we that we could only afford... It's we didn't have another hat that you could wear. I don't know, but maybe it was the only thing large enough to cover the damage.
They allowed it because they didn't want me with my messed up punky freak look as a child.
I used to grow my hair out long.
Yes.
And I can remember the time when I decided that I needed to cut it was when I was mistaken for a girl at a restaurant. This waitress was admittedly she was old, but she sort of whispered, "Oh, what a wonderful looking girl," or something like that. What a beautiful.
And I think
girl.
she was just trying to be polite. Was also the thing.
And, yeah, and she might have been. You know what I mean? In her defense, but later I remember telling Mom, okay, I may look like a woman, but I'm not a beautiful one.
Yeah.
And then the hair had to go. So,
and then you cut your hair, and you were a beautiful woman.
Yeah. Oh God! But yeah, so those are some hair memories. Just something I was thinking about this week. If you have any memories of your own and you would like to share them with us, you may do so. Our website is growing-up-geek.com, and you can leave comments or email us from there. Thank you so much for listening. Once again, my name is Brad.
I love Fantastic Sam's. I love Fantastic Sam's. Crap, a plastic horse.
And we'll see you next week.